Hey there, Pixar fans. I am back with my good buddy Noah. We are talking about our, what's this, fourth movie in the Pixar lineup. This is Monsters Incorporated. Came out in 2001. I think this was maybe one of the first times, it was right about this time that it really, like, Pixar as a brand, you know, it just really started to take hold. It was like, whoo, man, these guys are good. Like, just continually good work after work. All right, so Noah, what do we got for this one?
Yeah, I mean, the movie has some great characters, and I think for me, the top has to be Sullivan, James P. Sullivan, and Sully. He's a big teddy bear, you know. he's you know, he can be fearsome and terrifying when he needs to be for his job, but he's got a great heart to him. He's able to make that connection with Boo, his feelings for her throughout the film. And just also his partnership with Mike, and how, you know, they're your classic, you know, you've got your work buddies, and you've got your work, you know, you've got your co-workers, and then you have your friends who you work with, and Mike is clearly a friend that he works with.
Yeah,
they have a very deep friendship. I can't say enough about John Goodman's performance. He has that growl, but that he's got a timbre to his voice too that comes out in the softer moments. And even though that, you know, you're looking at this gigantic beast of a monster, can feel his heart of gold underneath. His moments with Boo, I love that character. He's also funny as well. He's got lots of funny moments. How about you?
Sullivan is great. There was one moment with him that I don't like, which unfortunately keeps me from putting me as his favorite. I really like Mike as well, Mike Wazowski. I love when, you know, at the very beginning, you know, he always has these moments where he's in the commercial and they turn around and they put the logo right over. He's like, I can't believe it. And they're like, oh, Mike. And he's like, I was on TV. That was great. Like, his optimism. Billy Crystal just does such a great job with that character. This is going to be a little surprising. My favorite character is Randall. I love him. Yeah, and it's funny because he's not even one of, like, the most in-depth villains. Like, there's plenty of other villains that have better screen time and that I actually like better. But just from a design standpoint, he's so slimy, and I love the chameleon aspect that they incorporate into his character. Like, I'll never forget the little, like, when they're getting ready to go into the scare rooms, and everyone's got, like, their little hype thing, and his little partner keeps pulling different backgrounds down behind him, and he blends into each one, like... Yeah. Or the scene in the bathroom where he's like, hold on, and like the fact that he can go, he's got this just whole stealthy, slippery aspect to him. Steve Buscemi does a great job of like just being really like skeezy, and I don't know, I guess I kind of related to it too in a way that like, surely we've all had that person we work with that we're like, oh, we don't really like talking to this guy, but he always like injects himself in your conversation, like, oh, big day today, buddy? And it's like, God, leave me alone, you give me the willies. So while I do think Mike and Sullivan are great, there's just something about Randall that I've always been like, this guy's awesome. I really love him. So I'll go with Randall. So next up, we're gonna have what we got? Least favorite moment? I gotta go with, okay. So here's what I'm gonna address the Sullivan thing, because it has always bothered me, and to this day I still just don't like it. So after Sully and Mike get exiled and to the Himalayas, they have this conversation in the snow cave, and you know, Sullivan wants to find a closet so he can get back to Monsters, Inc. and he can get back to Boo. And he says, like, none of this matters now. And Mike throws a snow. He's like, none of that matters? Well, hold on. Like, my career, that doesn't matter? You know, what about Celia? What about her? You know, we had a I'll never see her again. That doesn't matter? And they never address that. And Sully's just like, yeah, sorry, Mike. And he just leaves. And then the next time they're together, Mike is rescuing him from... And Mike's apologizing to him. He's like, hey, man, I'm sorry. And I'm just like, I get what they're going for. They're getting, hey, this is true friendship, and what is important is that they support each other. I agree with that, and I like that. And I said, at the same time, like, Sullivan is very selfish. He is only thinking of himself. Yes, he is also thinking of Boo, and I get that that's what they're going for, is the idea that Boo is the greater good. So to put her above everything else. But at the same time, like, he's right. He has caused nothing but turmoil for Mike since Boo came. He ruined the date with him. He's, going to get him in all kinds of trouble. Like, he's put him through a lot. So for him to, like, just kind of blow that off when Mike is literally like, dude, you've like ruined my life. They don't know they're going to get back, so as far as he knows, I've been exiled because of you. And for Sullivan, for someone as good-natured as Sullivan to kind of blow that off, like, that has always bothered me. Even this time, every time I even like try to like make an excuse for the character and justify it, I still can't. I'm just like, God, I hate that moment. I really wish that wasn't. I wish they'd had either Sullivan own up to it in some sense and like try to convince Mike that like I don't know, something, because that moment has always bothered me. What about yourself?
No, that's fair. I think that the weakest part of the film is probably the second act when they're trying to disguise Boo at the offices, and like they go with the whole she's went through the wood chipper kind of thing, and like that whole thing. It's a little played out. It's a little tired in comparison to some other things, but yeah, I'd say probably that, and getting chased by water noose or whatever is kind of, it's good, but it's just expected, I guess. Like the script is a little obvious, but I mean, I still love it. There's still lots of great humorous moments and stuff like that. I guess just the plot is just a little bare bones. Yeah. So being exiled, that moment, everything like that kind of feels a little out of place. It's supposed to be like the denouement moment, the reckoning kind of thing. You know, like you're supposed to make your realizations and then that scene. But you're right, because of Sullivan's choices, it kind of doesn't feel that way. So I guess maybe what they were going for was Sully has made the choice at that moment that Boo is more important than his work, so, and more important than Monsters Inc. So, which is, you know, he was the ultimate company man. So,
right.
So that's kind of the point, I suppose. But yeah, that's what I would say is kind of like that second act.
Yeah, that's fair. What kind of standout animation do you like in this film?
The first thing that stands out is the fur on Sully. Just all the individual strands and just the way it animates and the way it falls and lifts and all that. You know, that they did that was the technical achievement of the film, I feel. Other than that, like the design for monsters is basic, you know. It's very kind of shape oriented. They're very colorful and just kind of shape-ish. I would say the fur and the doors, like the door chase sequence, is visually really great. It's just got that momentum to it, and there's just a lot of great ideas, like, you know, it's kind of sketch shot ideas, like one by one as they're going through the doors and everything like that. It's a lot visually to take in, and they really pull that part off really well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, was the doors. I'll never forget the first time I saw that and just like, whoa, and they do a good job of giving you the feeling of being on a roller coaster. And every time I see them, just like, oh my gosh, that is so dangerous. You're just hanging on the side of this swinging door on this high-speed rail. Like, they really ratchet up the peril there. I do love the monster designs, like Sullivan in particular. He's a bipedal, just big combination of, he's got a tail. Like, they do such a great job of making him look fluffy and inviting, but like you said, that scene where he's got a roar and he can look incredibly scary at the same time. So just fantastic design on him. But yeah, those doors will always stand out. And I don't know if it was hard to, every time I see those doors, I'm like, man, how hard was that to animate? There's that scene where Sullivan and Boo are hiding from Randall in the workstation, and they're both under the same table, but they don't know it, and like he creeps forward, and then you see Randall like come into visibility right next to him. I love that. So yeah, that would be mine. So next we have first time memories. First time you saw this movie. I guess I'll go first. I saw this in theaters as part of a school class trip. Like, that was a field trip, was we were going to go to a movie theater, and it was a choice. You know, it was middle school, so like we had to see, you know, something that was like G-rated. We weren't allowed to see anything PG or whatever. And it was either Monsters Inc. or something else. I think it was Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone had just came out.
Yeah, that would have been about the same time.
Yeah, and I think
I got stuck watching. One of those times I got stuck watching See Spot Run.
That's funny. Yeah, well, so like I remember the kids had a choice. Like, would you want to see Harry Potter or Monsters Inc? Well, I'd already seen Harry Potter, so I was like, well, I don't need to see that. And I want to see Monsters Inc. So I chose that one with and just I had a blast. Again, it was the first time I think I was like, this Pixar, these Pixar people, they're gonna be big someday. Like,
Man, not very big, you see.
right? Yeah. So it was a really memorable, great experience for me.
I think I saw it in theaters, but I honestly don't remember. But I remember when I got it for Easter. I got it on DVD. And I just remember watching it, and then it wasn't originally one of my favorites, but it grew on me over time. Like, every time I watched it over the years, it's gotten funnier to me than the previous time. Like, it still gets good belly laughs out of me. So I would say just the fact that, for me, this is one that's grown on.
Yeah, that's fair. Are there any musical moments that stick out to you?
That thing back where it came from, or so help me. So help me.
Yeah.
So help me. Yeah, that she's out of my hand.
Yeah.
Like, just Billy Crystal doing Billy Crystal things. On a serious note, I really do like the score on the goodbye scene to Boo.
Yeah.
It's very light and very touching. It really drives the emotion in the moment. So I would say that.
Yeah, that's really good. For me, it's the title. It's the intro. It's
That's a good one too.
And you have this cool little snake thing with all these doors, and like it's really creative too visually. And they dump out all the letters, and the snake is like trying to put them all in the right place. Like, I love that sequence.
Well, and also to your point there, it does a good job of visually giving you information about the plot in the film before the movie even starts.
Yeah.
Like, doors are important. It's going to be kind of upbeat and cheery.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a good setup.
That's a good choice. Yeah. Favorite dialogue or like joke moment in the film?
So it was funny because Toy Story 1 and Bug's Life, which were the first two we did, had really standout moments for me. Whereas this one and Toy Story 2 didn't have quite as big of ones. Like, there's not like a single line or anything like, oh, that really... A lot of Billy Crystal's stuff stands out. Like, I just can't... I always hear in my head, I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching. Like, I love that.
Yeah, Roz.
It's so good. I remember a moment that shocked me the first time. Because, again, I didn't see it coming. This is going to sound silly, but it's the line, it's your door. Which is that, where you find out Waternoose is working with Randall, and they bring the door down, and they think they're putting Boo back. He says, this isn't Boo's door. And he says, no, it's not. And Randall opens it up. He turns visible. He says, it's your door. And he shoves him through. And I remember this kid was like, oh, no! Like, and then, yeah. So, like, that really stood out to me a lot. So I'd probably say either some of Mike's jokes or the Raz doing the Wazowski line. Like, yeah, that's what stands out to me.
Yeah, the Mike scene with Roz, just the way he tries to like butter her up and stuff is hilarious to me. And then just like, you didn't file your paperwork. Like that character is just really funny. They did a great job with that. Also, I love the just little bits and stuff. I love the little to take your child to work, or the nursery kids moment, and he goes, Mike Wazowski, and bites him.
Yeah.
Like, that's really funny. I feel so bad for him, but I think it's hilarious, the running bit with George Sanderson, how he keeps getting the socks and stuff, and
2914 or whatever the code is. Yeah.
It like, especially when he opens his locker and all just like falls out on him. That moment's really funny. I love the moment where you're with Boo on the toilet.
Yeah.
And Sully's checking on her. She like slams the door shut on him.
Yeah.
And then like her singing the little song. And then of course like Sully's goodbye scene and just saying, oh no, Kitty's gotta go.
Yeah.
It's touching, and that's a good one too.
Yeah.
That's what stood out to me.
Awesome. So, what would you change about this film if you could?
It's funny that you say that Randall is your favorite character because I feel like Randall has a really cool design.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you there. But as a character, he's just kind of his motivation just kind of like I get it, but like it's one note.
Yeah, sure.
Also, like Water Noose is again that they again pull the surprise. I'm a villain like at the end of the film. Makes sense, but that's kind of my biggest complaint. I'd say is that the villains are pretty standard. Randall's there. I don't know if it honestly needed a villain. I feel like them trying to get Boo back is a challenge in of itself in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they didn't need a villain per se.
Yeah, but then we'd lose Randall, and that just wouldn't do it all. I know what you mean, though. So one thing I like about Water Noose, though, is that I always like it when a villain cares. And so for him to have remorse about Sullivan, like, I had to lose my best scarer because of you. You could tell he does at least truly care about Sullivan, and he hated to have to do that. So I do appreciate that. As I said before, I would definitely fix up, have Sullivan apologize to Mike, like, in a serious way. That whole scene I mentioned earlier. I agree with you, too, what you said about Act 2. Like, even when they're in the apartment with Boo and they're, like, trying to get her to calm down and go to sleep, like, all of that is done well and it's touching, but I can't help it. It just feels a little slow. I agree. Like you said, it feels like maybe that just goes on too long. The whole, like, charade of them trying to sneak her back in. And
Yeah, I do belly laugh when she sneezes on his goggles and he takes his goggles off and disinfects his eye and screams like.
Yeah, there's some good comedy there, but yeah, I agree that, like, again, this isn't like a this is bad. It's just maybe that could have been clipped up a little bit. So that's what I think.
Yeah, agreed.
So some closing thoughts on Monsters Inc. It's a really great film. It's touching. It's funny. Man, I really love both kind of the bookend of the ending itself, and that I love when he puts Boo back. He gives her the hug, and he goes in the closet, and she toddles over to the door, opens it, and it's just a closet. Like there's a moment where you can he's not there. And of course, man, the ending moment of Mike rebuilds the door for him, and he says, "Only works if you have every piece." He puts it in, and I love that you don't see her; you just hear Kitty.
Yeah.
And his face lights up. Like, I got goosebumps just like saying that just now. Beautiful ending, great film. I love it. Just another great addition to their pantheon.
No, absolutely. It's a lovely film. It's very funny, and I think to me it might be the funniest Pixar movie yet on this list. Good characters and really thrilling chase scene at the end, which I love. The Pixar is always really dependable about giving some really interesting visual action with a climax and really making you feel like it's a roller coaster again, literally with the door chase scene. Yeah. So yeah, I love it. It gets better every time I watch it. So
yeah, one thing I need to mention too, because the person I was watching it with pointed this out as well, is that it has such a great introduction to the world, where you have this scene where you think it's a kid's bedroom and this monster, is going to attack him, and then the monster freaks out and you realize it's just a simulation. But like, again, the dialogue there is very clever, that they're like, can anyone point out what he did wrong? He left the door open, and that's a problem because, like, but it doesn't feel like exposition. It feels very natural that of course they would be like telling these people this. And, Water Noose comes in because it could let in a child. Do you know how dangerous that is? So, like, it sets up the world so well.
It's smart writing. It's in the first few minutes you understand the basis of what this world is and what, the rules of the world, per se. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's excellent.
So that was
smart.
Monsters Inc. from Pixar. Next, let's see, what was that? Our fourth film. So we'll be going on to number 5 next. That is going to be one of my personal favorites. A little spoiler for that, and that's Finding Nemo. Join us in the ocean. Yeah, bring your fish with you. We'll see you next time. Bring your gills. Bye.